I need. Okay, so welcome everybody. My name is Cindy Gay, and welcome to Cindy Gay Raw Cooking. Today is a beginner lesson from the standpoint of let's
You're
talk
watching
about
Twitch. It's the
loops
finals,
again.
and the play of the game is
Oh,
coming. They make the move, the crowd goes
hold
wild, but you
on. This
missed it because of an
happens.
ad. Here's how to make sure that never happens again.
But if I don't do this, I don't know. Oh, shoot. My other computer's firing. Hold on. Okay. So I've got it finally. Okay, so let's start over. Let's pretend that we're just getting started. If you are a member of the Rug Cooking Journey, please head on over to Zoom. It's always a better experience that way because I can talk to you if you have any questions. So, welcome. My name is Cindy Gay, and I run Cindy Gay Rug Cooking. I do a live beginner lesson like this, at least that's the plan, every second Saturday. So, of the month. So that's the plan going forward in 2025. A lot of that will depend on attendance, how many people show up. So I'm glad you're here and let's get started. I wanted to talk today about loops, mainly because loops are something that is always a question. And there have been some people who have been asking me questions through YouTube chat or through direct email, that kind of thing.
180%.
And okay, I'm going to mute some people on Zoom because I can hear every little noise you make, every sniffle you make. I can hear you. So if you're not asking me a question, make sure you're on mute. Okay. So a lot of people have asked me questions about pulling loops, the simple part of that. So let's talk about what is the easiest way to go through and to pull loops. For that, I'm going to head over to this view. Nope, not that one either. Where is the, swap that one. Okay. So this recommend, um, you would probably want to hook into something, like a normal foundation backing, like rugwarp, linen, monk's cloth, I don't recommend, or burlap, which I don't recommend. So either linen or rugwarp would be what I would recommend. In this view down here, you get to see what's going on at the bottom, right? Because that's where all the questions are. What happens in the bottom? So to pull up your first loop, and unfortunately this bar is in the way, and I didn't think about, no, that's too low. I don't have something in between, so maybe if that's going to be about the best view, except the wire's making it turn. I should have left it alone. I had it all set up. There we go. So what I typically do is you get the loop up any way you can. Okay. How long of a loop you leave is up to your preference. I like to leave about an inch because I don't want to struggle with it later when I'm trying to pull on it to actually clip it, right? And then you're going to hold the wool in the direction you're going. So I'm going to hold it this way if I'm going up. I'm going to hold it this way if I'm going down. I'm going to hold it this way if I'm going over. I'm going to hold it this way if I'm coming this way. So my favorite direction is from the bottom up. And what you want to do is take the hook and move the hook. Keep the wool sitting still so that you are not doing what I call a yarn over. Okay, so this is a yarn over. Automatic twist. You want to keep that wool as flat as possible. Take the hook, scoop under it, pull down to keep it on the hook, and then pull up your loop to the correct height. Generally, you're going to want to pull it up as high as it is wide. Now, that's the entire rug cooking technique lesson. Now, is there more? Absolutely. There are tons of questions. And I'm reserving the rest of our time together for questions so that you can ask me specifically what you have questions about. And then I will show you how I do it. So, fair enough? Okay. So, let me fix one other thing over here on the Zoom call. There we go. What questions do you have about rug cooking in general? If you're here on the Zoom with me, you can simply unmute and ask your question, or you can digitally raise your hand, or if you have your camera turned on, you can give me this signal, right? Because I'll be able to see you and I'll be able to unmute you and take care of that part for you. Are there any live questions? And it could be about beginning rug cooking. It can be a little bit more advanced in the beginning. I'm a little bit less picky about the questions because I just want to get the discussion started, right? Okay. So no questions. So let me address that. If you have a question, you can put it in the chat in Zoom. You can also put it in the chat in YouTube, and I will see it there. For now, I'm going to go back to that same look that we had before, and I'm going to talk about one common problem. And that problem is when you pull up a loop, the last loop gets smaller. It pulls out like it just did there. How do you avoid that? Well, the way to avoid that is to roll the work toward the work that's getting done. Because what happens is the pressure is on the top of the loop. So when I pull it this way, it pulls on the strip. But when I pull it this way, it pulls on that loop. And it could actually pull the loop out all the way if you pulled hard enough. So if you're having trouble with your loops pulling out, then really all you need to do is to remember which way to roll your work. And it should always be rolled toward the work that's done. So if you want to roll, if you are hooking from the bottom, which is not my favorite direction, so I feel a little bit more clunky with that. Again, you don't want to pull it this way because see how it's pulling on that tail? You want to pull it this way so it pulls on that strip. And you don't need to pull it that high. You only need to pull it as high as the strip is wide. That's the general rule of thumb on pulling up your strips. So Rhoda is saying, I struggle with pulling my loops up to a consistent height. Any suggestions? Well, it kind of depends on how inconsistent are you, okay? Because the reason for that is I've been hooking for 25 and a half years now, and I don't pull mine up to a consistent height, but I steam my work when I'm all done. So one of the things that happens is that people will compare their in-process work to my finished work. And that's not fair. You should, if you can compare my in-process work to my finished work, they look different. They look almost like someone else hooked it. Steaming your rugs is very important. And you can go on my YouTube channel and put in steaming. You might get something, but I know for sure inside the rug cooking journey, you're going to find that in the basics course, in the finishing section. So always, 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 always steam your rug. Now, one thing that people will ask is, do I steam the rug from the front or from the back? My answer to that is yes. You steam it from the front and the back, and maybe from the front again, depending on whatever it is you need to get your rug to look the way you want it to look. Steaming is the great equalizer. It makes even the roughest loops look perfect. Now, that said, be careful what you wish for. If you're wishing for the absolute perfect loops, I can tell you from judging several people's rugs at rug shows, the perfect loops somehow are missing a little bit of soul. They don't look as artistic as the other ones. So, is it really a true problem that your loops are not consistent height? Now, how far off are they? If they are off very obviously, then it's just a matter of pulling it up, adjusting it, making sure it's to the right height, and then using the trick that I showed you just a few minutes ago about rolling the work toward the work that's been done, whether it's to the right, to the left, up, or down, then that will avoid pulling out that prior loop. Because that might be what's happening. If you're pulling your loops up to the perfect height and then you don't roll it, it pulls out the prior loop, and all of a sudden you got one high loop and one low loop, right? So that'll come with experience. So, another one of my suggestions is simply to practice. If you don't want to practice on your first rug, then make some coasters. Simple 6 by 6 inch squares make ideal coasters. You can make them smaller. I like to do the 6 by 6 square that I then divide into 4 squares, and then I call it a beginner square. So let me show you. There's no more questions coming in. So let me show you on here. Let me get to my website. It's cindygayrughooking.com. I'm going to go to learning. I'm going to go to a gallery. And then I'm going to look for my beginner square. But let me share with you this screen as I am sharing. So hopefully you're seeing a gallery of my rugs. There's a beginner square. 6 inches this way, 6 inches this way, and then divide it in half, which gives you 4 3 by 3 inch squares. I hook it with all different cut sizes, all different kinds of textures. In fact, if you want to order one of those, just get in touch with me. I don't have it on the website because it's hard to describe it. I just haven't taken the time to sit down and do that. But we'll talk about your favorite colors, or I'll just give you a grab bag, which is my favorite, of all the colors in the scrap bag. And then you just start hooking. That is going to be one of the best ways to do that. Okay, so Christina says, I tend to locate my tails on the back side as I prefer that loop. Look, mostly yarn and roving. My rugs are intended for hanging and not on the floor. Does this have a negative impact on potentially selling the pieces? Thanks in advance. I think it does, but that's my preference. When I buy artwork, I want it to be finished beautifully. So that would look a little messy. You can pull it to the top and use my tail cutting method, which is to pull on, do one at a time, never do two at once. Pull one at a time, pull on it, slight pressure, clip it with offset scissors. My handy dandy toolkit bag. Here we go. These are offset scissors. So they have a little bit of an angle. It allows you to make it really flat and still have room for your fingers, right? You can still get it real flat on the backing. And cut each tail individually and bring it to the front. If you take it to any kind of rug hooking event and it's going to be judged, that would be judged very negatively because that is not the usual technique, even with yarn and roving. The technique is to pull it to the top and clip it. But again, it's artwork. So you do whatever works for you. I look at it not as, is it going to go on the wall or is it going to go on the floor? Because I know a lot of people will say, I'm not real fussy about the finishing because I'm just going to hang it. What is going to hurt your rug is time, not foot traffic. Wool is incredibly durable in all of its iterations, whether it's yarn or roving or fabric. What's going to break down first is going to be the actual edge. So finishing becomes very important. And it's easier to finish something where it's all held together tightly. So those hanging loose on the back are easier to pull out than if they're brought up to the top and they're being pushed in and being snuggled by all the other loops. So that's going to hold it in there tighter. So in the long run, it would generally be more kind to your rug if they all the loops are pulled to the top. Rhoda says, I assume there are a number of ways to prepare a rug for hanging. What is your favorite and most cost-effective way to prepare a rug for hanging? Definitely my favorite is to hang a rug that has been prepared for the floor on the wall using the wooden frame with carpet tack hanging. A lot of people, and I've heard this from multiple places, just put a sleeve in it like you would a quilt. Well, when you're doing a quilt, there are not 5 to 10 threads per quarter inch. There's many more threads per quarter inch in cotton than there is in wool, right? Wool is more loosely woven. Your backing is even more loosely woven than that, right? So when you sew your tube on the back, the sleeve on the back, and you put a dowel rod through it to hang it, first off, dowel rod, ding, 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 danger. That's wood. Make sure that's finished. Make sure it has a coat of shellac or varnish or poly, whatever it is, put on it to encase the wood so it's not off-gassing, because that will rot the wool and your backing faster than anything else. You normally don't want wood anywhere near your backing, anywhere near your rug. So what makes that even worse is now we got the dowel rod in there, and it's snuggled up tight to the top where all the pressure is, right? Because the bottom just holds it in there. It's not holding the rug. And what happens is the entire weight of your rug, let me get rid of this message because that's driving me really crazy. So the weight of your entire rug is being held from that one row of stitching. And what will happen over time is your backing, depending on what kind of backing it is, will begin to stretch out, and you'll begin to see just the warp threads, which is not attractive at all. So you don't want the weight of the entire rug being held by a little bit. Now, let's say it's a door hanger and it took you 3 days to hook. Not that big on the heirloom list, right? So that, go ahead, do whatever you need to do to hang it. It's okay. You know, hooking it, that it is pretty much a disposable piece. So it's not something that is real important, right? Would I hang my room size rug? No. Would I on the wall? Yes, I would hang it. I don't have a wall big enough for it, but I would hang it, but I would not hang it with a dowel rod across the top. Okay. I would not even hang a 3x5, that way. Let me see which ones I do have hanging. Most of these are over there in my teaching bin. There is a YouTube video. It's really old. It's from 2016. Actually, this particular rug is hanging in my studio. Let me see if I can get you a view of that by clicking on this. Okay, so way over there, you can't really see the rug because of the lighting, but you can see that dark in between the windows right there. That is, let me get this figured out. That is probably about a 2.5 by 4.5 foot rug, maybe. And it is held on the wall using map pins, MAP, map pins. So imagine you've got a cork board and you got a map up there and you want to put a dot every place you've been, they sell special map pins for that. So that's what you would put up there. Um, I have them on the Cindy Gay recommendations page. So if you Google Cindy Gay recommendations, that page will come up. And my link to the exact ones I use are on that page. I like one that is like a darker silver. It tends to reflect the colors and almost it completely disappears. So you don't even really see it. But there is a video on YouTube of my favorite way to hang because it's a little bit easier if you're going to be taking the rug down and up all the time. And that's on YouTube. Let me see if I can find the link for that. Oh, I'm already sharing. So let me go to YouTube Cindy Gay Hang Rug. I am not finding that. So let's go to my YouTube channel and go to, I was just looking at that video today. There is a special search right here. If you click on this one, you can search within that channel. It doesn't look for anything else. So I'm going to just put hang. Here we go. This is the one I'm looking for. So this is an old video, 8 years old. So I was a little bit more limber then. And you're going to see how I hang this rug. This rug has an arched top, which makes it a little bit more difficult to hang. But you can use this method to hang any kind of rug. So this works if you're hanging a square rug or a round rug or whatever it is you're hanging. This is my preferred method, mainly because you can pick it up and move it to another part of the house and only have one hole, or maybe two in the case of bigger rugs. You would only have two holes at the most in your wall, where with other methods of like pounding the carpet strips directly into your wall, you're going to end up with multiple holes, right? And so that's going to be ugly and hard to then move to somewhere else. So I do like doing the wooden frame with the carpet tack strips. That's my favorite way. The second favorite way is going to be with map pins, but that only works if you have drywall. Okay. I have plaster in most of this house, so I can do it here in the studio, but I can't do it in the rest of my house because the rest of my house has plaster walls. So for that, I have to use the wooden frame with the carpet tack strips. You do want to coat the carpet tack strips with something, again, to seal in the wood so it's not exposed to your rug. And for that, the easiest way is a simple spray. Do it in the spring, out in the yard. I lay down an old paint blanket in an old lawn chair that I use explicitly for that purpose. And I stay far away enough away from the house and I just start spraying. And then I leave it there for however long it says between coats. And then I go back and I get it again. So that's the way that happens. So then Rhonda says, are you making your wood frame or buying stretcher boards? I tend to make my own frame because I don't make my rug to standard sizes. I make it to whatever size fits the design. So it's pretty easy. I have the husband look at it and he goes, okay, he takes a couple quick measurements, take an inch off those measurements. So you have like a half inch sticking out of the sides, and then away he goes. And if you watch that YouTube video, it's called How to Hang a Rug on the Wall. If you search for that, it shows you what the actual wood looks like because I take the rug down and I show you what it looks like. In fact, I can show it to you here. Let me do that, and we'll share this one, and I'll make that bigger so you can see everything. That's what that looks like. And my husband just pieced together roughly. It's not finished carpentry. It's not fancy stuff. Um, but it tends to work just fine. Okay, so any other questions? What else do you guys have for me? I am out of questions that have been asked in the Zoom comments, also in the YouTube comments. If you are here on YouTube, welcome. I'm glad you're here, but I need your questions. So let's get those taken care of. I want to just pop over to here. So we do have a few people watching on YouTube. So please just pop your questions in so that I see all the Zoom and all the YouTube questions all in the same place, all at once, which is really handy. And it is still working because I double checked the YouTube channel, so we are good there. So, what other questions do you have? I'm going to take a quick sip. I'm so thirsty today. Okay. I'm just scrolling to make sure I haven't missed anything, and I haven't. Here's a good one. Cynthia is asking, do you always clip your tails? Or do you use a technique to hide them? Okay, so I'm going to make this sort of a contest. There's no prize, but what do you think my answer is? Do I always clip my tails? Yes or no? No would mean I use a technique to hide them. What's your guesses? Let's see how many people I have playing along. Not many. Okay, so let me explain. So Rhoda is saying yes, and the answer is yes. I always clip them. I don't have the time or the energy to hide my tails. There are a couple different ways I hide my tails. Number one, use a texture, okay? Textured wool is not as obvious as cut solid wool. So textured wool is your friend. I love to hook with textures. They can be a little bit difficult. So what you want to do is put together what I call a texture sampler. And if you don't know what a texture sampler is, let me show you one really quickly. This is an example of one where it's a piece of the textured wool, basically the plaid, laid flat, and then a little bit of it hooked. And inside the membership, there's actually a couple different layouts for this. So you'll find that. Just go into the membership and search for a texture sampler. So if you are using solids, the next best way to hide your tails is to use a smaller cut. Okay. With all of them, the next best way to hide your tails is to grab one tail at a time. I see a lot of people who will just go snip, 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 and then brush them off, and they're done. I grab one piece of wool at a time. Even if I have two pieces of wool, I have the ending and the new beginning in the same hole. I grab one at a time, I pull on it slightly, and I clip it flush with my offset scissors, which I've already misplaced. Did I put it back in the bag? Probably. So these are offset scissors. They are offset this way. A lot of people will buy scissors that are offset this way, and then the blades open this way. That does you nothing. You need it so that they're this way. You need to be able to hold it flat. You're pulling on that tail, and then you are cutting it even. By doing one at a time, they're never going to be cut exactly perfectly. So what that means, they're not going to line up if you pull two together, they are going to line up and they're going to become more obvious. There are a lot of techniques to hide tails, and I'm going to say to hide. I'm going to use air quotes on that because I don't think it actually hides them. I think in some ways it emphasizes the ending, and that would be like hiding it back up inside the loop, or pulling up the tail, go backwards one stitch and then go forward two stitches. Now I got two layers there, so that's not good. But it also will create a row of tails. And then the fourth way that I use to hide my tails is I don't put them at the ends. Okay, so if I'm hooking a building, instead of hooking it from here to here and clipping it at each end, I will hook it from here. I will turn and go back and hide it somewhere in the middle of the row, making sure that I never stop and start the ending in the same place, which might mean I have to start, I might have to stop using a strip sooner than going to the very end. I'm sure there are lessons on that the inside the um, Rug Cooking Journey membership. I don't think they're available. I don't remember. I've got so much contact out there that I don't remember if there's anything like that. There might be. So check my YouTube channel if you're not a member of the Rug Cooking Journey. If you want to be a member of the Rug Cooking Journey, then simply go to howtorugcook.com/the Rug Cooking Journey. Just the first letter of each of those words. TRHJ. I am working on a design for the homepage for that website, and that will make things a little bit easier. Meaning it will, you'll be able to find the link to join the journey a little bit easier. For some reason, it got hid over the last few years, so I will make that a little bit more obvious. Let me go to the comments. There's really no other comments going on. So if anybody inside the Rug Cooking Journey has questions, go ahead and ask those. If not, I'm going to let the YouTube channel go away. I'm going to continue this discussion inside the Rug Cooking Journey with the people here on Zoom. I'm not seeing any more questions, so I think that's what I'm going to be doing. So I just have to figure out how to do that. There we go. So thank you, YouTube, for being here. And I will see you in January on the second Saturday. So that's it for now.